Don't get me wrong, Granblue Fantasy Relink deserves all the success it's been getting, but there's one extremely disappointing part to the game that I really hope gets addressed in the future, and I'm hoping that with this video I can explain to all of you why this problem is something that is fixable. At least I hope so, and I hope they put in the time and effort to do so. The problem I'm referring to is not the Terminus weapon grind and not even the RNG curio grind, because that part of the game is for the min-maxers, the people who are really passionate about this game. Granblue Fantasy Relink instead though dropped the ball in somewhere that I think is super important. It may not impact you, it may not impact me, but I can guarantee that it impacted some of your friends or some of the people who may have been interested in this game. Now, from the more recent promotion material of Granblue Fantasy Relink has put quite a bit of emphasis into the multiplayer aspect, the fun, amazing boss fights that you can team up, synergize, and whoop together once you beat the story mode of Granblue Fantasy Relink. And that's a big part of the problem. You see, to unlock anything meaningful multiplayer-wise, you have to beat the story. The story itself is not super long, but it does require a little bit of time commitment. I don't mind, and I'm pretty sure most of you will not mind. But think of your friend who you may be interested in playing with, or they may be interested in playing with you, but they don't want to sit through this story alone. They're just here for the gameplay. They're here for the fun. They want to spend their free time with their friends. And they would probably love the gameplay loop of Granblue Fantasy Relink, but they'll never get to it because they won't play through the story mode all by themselves. After playing through the story itself, I thought that some of the story components, the story missions, couldn't translate into a multiplayer experience, or maybe the backend couldn't sufficiently handle it. But as I started playing through the deeper parts of the endgame of Granblue Fantasy Relink, the multiplayer aspects, you'll get reused missions that are straight up ripped from the story. And some boss encounters that are more set-piece bosses are also there. So it's just like, all the missions could have been played in multiplayer. And I'm sure most of us who love the game will probably say, we don't care if we don't get any rewards, or we can't level up our characters, or whatever. We just want to be able to hop in and play with our friends and help them get to the actual multiplayer content. You could argue that the story mode was a tutorial for the multiplayer aspect, but I don't know how I feel about that, because there's a lot of people who I know who love playing multiplayer games and would love playing action RPGs like this, but when you're told, oh, I gotta sit through 10 to 20 hours of a single player story before I can even play with you or fight fun bosses with you, I think I would rather play something else. But there is hope, because as I mentioned, a lot of the story missions are reused in the multiplayer components, so maybe in the near future, given Granblue Fantasy Relink's success, we might see a multiplayer component in the story mode itself. At least I hope so for the new game plus, so that way you can go through the ultimate difficulty with your friends. That would be really cool. I'm a big proponent for co-op story modes because it does give people more incentive to try games that they normally wouldn't try. Now, this is just my opinion on what I think is the most disappointing aspect of Granblue Fantasy Relink, outside of maybe having to wear damage cap all the time in sigils, but that's a totally different topic. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that the story mode should have co-op? Let us know in the comments below. And if you had a good time, hit that like button and consider subscribing to support your boy. My name is Varsona, and I'll see you in the next video.